When you're driving over the Howard, the Courtney, or the Gandy, and you look out over the water in Tampa Bay, you can rest assured there's a local group whose main focus is preserving the ecosystem of those waters. But this group can't do it all alone, and we want you to know how you can help as well. We welcome Andy Likens, who's an environmental scientist, and Jamie Anderson, who's a senior environmental educator, and they both work with a group known as Tampa Bay Watch. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us.
Tell us, what is Tampa Bay Watch? Andy, you've been there the longest. What is it for someone who has no idea? Are you just looking out over the bay? What do you do?
So we're getting our feet wet, our hands dirty. We're out almost every single day, actually doing things to help improve the quality of the bay, teaching kids and those types of things. We're a small nonprofit organization, and our focus is on restoring and protecting and conserving the marine habitats in the Tampa Bay estuary.
I like the fact you get kids involved.
Yes.
They learn early. What types of projects do you have for the kids?
Oh, we have a variety of activities they can choose from. Between our Bay Grasses and Classes program and our Estuary Adventures program, we reached over 3,000 students and had 3,000 students involved in our programs.
Wow.
Over to 2012.
Wow.
Sorry.
And do they go out and plant grass?
So they can participate. Estuary Adventures is our on-site education program where we actually have students visiting our facility. So we do a lot of on-site restoration work. We plant sea oats, we travel out into the estuary, sample the variety of sea life that lives there, and they really get that hands-on experience learning about the variety of creatures that live there. Our Bay Grasses and Classes program is a program that's developed in the school. So we actually have scientists that go to the schools. They have a salt marsh nursery there where they actually maintain those plants, grow them, and then once they're mature enough, they can actually transplant them to a donor site.
And what do you hope they're learning through these classes?
So it's really a chance for them to not just sit back and learn about the value of salt marsh or the value of keeping our estuaries clean. It's actually a chance for them to sample it, to physically get their hands involved, get in the water, see the variety of life that's right there in front of them versus just learning about it in the classroom or reading a book.
And why is a salt marsh important to the average person?
So salt marsh is a very beneficial coastal plant, just like any other coastal vegetation that grows on our shoreline. It's very important, though, for trapping a lot of debris and pollutants before they actually make it into the estuary. So it's actually a buffer and a filtration system. It also prevents erosion because it has really strong roots. So that helps keep that sand in place. And then, also providing oxygen. I mean, plants are very important for providing oxygen. But it also, inside each little salt marsh area, there's just a variety of life. Different creatures in various stages of their life are very dependent on that vegetation being there. And it also gives rise to a variety of other plants to grow right behind them. So it's very beneficial for a lot of reasons. And that's what we try to teach the kids. They get a chance to actually see that for themselves.
That's wonderful. You're teaching them early.
Absolutely.
And the adults, Andy, what are you teaching the adults? If someone comes to you and says, I want to volunteer, I want to learn, what do you teach them?
So for adults, it's a little different than the kids. It's our own kind of fun, I would say, for adults. But they can participate in a lot of our habitat restoration projects. We're a very small organization. There's 13 staff members, so there's some full-time, some part-time staff. And there's no way that we could do what we do without community involvement. So various restoration projects, our oyster dome projects, our oyster bar projects, salt marsh plantings, educational outreach, and just various different things that they can get involved with. And when you come out and do a project with us, you are not just coming to provide some labor for us. You're coming to learn. We teach you about what it is you're doing, what the value is, the benefit, and the impact that you will actually make on the Tampa Bay estuary.
Talk a little bit about your oyster recycling program.
Okay.
This was very impressive to me. I like to eat oysters when I go to the restaurant, but I never thought about what happens or could happen to the shells afterwards.
So usually, typically when you eat oysters at a restaurant, the shells are disposed of in the garbage and it goes out to a landfill as waste. And we have a partnership with the Krabbyvilles on Indian Rocks Beach. And any shell that they use at the restaurant, instead of putting it in the garbage, they put it at a different location. And then once they get a truckload of it, they will bring it to an oyster shell depot that we have set up at Fort DeSoto Park, which is right next to our facility.
Right.
So they'll deliver that shell there. We let it sit out and cure for about 6 months. You know, there's lots of stuff in that you don't necessarily want to put directly in the water.
Okay.
So we let those things biodegrade, and then we can bag that shell up in our oyster bags and use that at restoration projects around the bay.
And describe that. So they're in bags, and you place them on the shoreline. And how does that help?
So the oyster bags that we use, they're smaller. They're about 30 to 40 pound bags, and we will arrange them in rows along shoreline at a designated area within the intertidal zone. And those bags will serve as a means for oysters that are traveling around in the water column as plankton. It serves as a means for them to find a place to attach to and a place for them to grow. And once the oysters start to grow, they start to filter a lot of water. They are really, really efficient little filter feeders, and it provides kind of a reef. A lot of people are familiar with coral reefs, but oyster reefs have a lot of diversity as well, and that provides habitat, that provides food. So there's really a lot of benefits to it, and then also preventing shoreline erosion. That's a pretty big problem in a lot of places that we use these oyster restoration techniques.
That's great. And of course, as they start to grow small organisms on them, that brings in a little bit larger fish.
Yes.
And larger and larger.
Yeah, it's really a big benefit for a lot of game fish and birds and those types of things as well.
I also saw the program where you have them strung on a cable, and you can hang them off of your dock, and the organisms, so it's almost like a fish attractor, if you will.
Yeah, and that's kind of something new that we've started to see how that works. Putting them in the water column and seeing what happens, and it's really worked out well. We actually have some at our facility that with field trips, Jamie can take kids out and pull them up out of the water, and it's just incredible the things that are on there.
Sure.
We call them our vertical oyster gardens.
I think they're little vertical oyster condos. That's what
Yes.
it looks like.
Yes.
Well, thank you both for joining us. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for making our waters of Tampa Bay a better place.
Thank you for having us. Thank
And
you.
you're looking for volunteers all the time.
All the time, yeah. Any information that you want about our organization, check out www.tampabaywatch.org.
Fantastic.
And it's our 20th anniversary this year, so
Yes.
big year to get involved.
Great. Well, happy anniversary. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Coming up next, we're going to show you how you can help protect Florida's reef system. Stay with us.